one thing I've noticed. So John Dupree down in Southwest region, Jonathan, they're really big on doing some events and like interviews and stuff. And I've struggled too, Sean, on getting people like engaged in those classes. Now, I will say, that being said, yesterday I just kind of been listening to our agents, and they said, hey, we want to learn REO, short sales, that kind of stuff. So I found some guys in Arizona that they were attorneys that became agents. And yes, I had 103 register for the class, and I had 48 show and 18 were guests. So I'm following up with those today. But I think I found out, like, I've done classes where I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And then I have like 3 people show and on Zoom.
Yeah.
And this was all on Zoom. So, I mean, I could have never done a group that big in my training room. But I had 50 come to the Zoom. But I think it's just because the content was just something agents really, really were wanting to hear. And so that's what I'm really working on is trying to meet now with these agents. Go, okay, what do you want to do next? So I can just stay in relationship.
For every event that you do, it actually can backfire if you do too many events, because the impact of an event, and this is the exact same thing for a team leader that it is for a mega agent. There's 3 phases to it. The first phase is inviting and all the connections and things you can do around the inviting. The middle phase is the event itself. And then the third phase on the back end is all of the follow-up to the event. So let's a mega agent, for example, might want to take an entire quarter to run a great client event, because they're going to take a month to invite, then hold the event, and then take a month to follow up with the people that did attend and the people who didn't. So you're getting all these different touches, and it's like a pyramid. Like, the event itself is lower on the pyramid, and then what opportunity that allows you to have a one-on-one conversation and a one-on-one face-to-face is the value of the event. So it's awesome that you do an event that there's 100 people. But if you did that every 2 weeks without all 3 phases, there wouldn't be the juice from it necessarily.
I agree with that. I've experienced that.
Yeah, and that's been our goal, is just on the training calendar, put one kind of bigger thing like that, and then we'll offer one CE class, because a lot of agents, even the highest producing ones, will come to cheaper free CE classes. But really, I'm just focused on like next month. Well, this month we have a MAPS coach doing a business planning workshop for us, and so that'll be like our one big thing this month.
Cool. Justin, we're talking about mega camp guests, and if we got any of them on board, how's your market center showing up there?
I thought I heard getting hit with a lot of new ones. We onboarded 7 agents last week.
Ooh,
5 of them
good week.
Brand new. Mega Camp really hasn't done anything for that. I wrote this down though. I like the idea of filling the gaps in my training calendar with Mega Camp rerun, at least for the next 2 months. Sorry, my phone is just getting blown up on my phone here.
No problem.
So I wrote that down, and I also like this. You treat an event like a quarterly thing. You got a month before, you got the event, and you got a month after. So I'm just taking note here. We did, my market share agents did come from the fact that our market center is actually stronger year to date than we were last year. So
I've noticed that with you over the last couple weeks, and so you've been reporting that you've been beating last year. Yeah, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But
in our 10-year history as a market center, we had our best month ever last month, which put our closed unit count ahead of where we were this time last year. 2019 was our best year ever, and we just took it. And that's with having 2 months of restriction. So it's pretty powerful. And the cool thing is like I now have more agents doing more business, so they're becoming my number 1 recruit. The agents are making an impression on the opposite agent. The opposite agent is saying, how is it that you guys are still floating? How is it that you guys do not seem to be pressured and bothered? And how is it that you're elevating your open houses and your new listings? So now we're having some very serious business discussion. For me, Mega Camp was a personal thing. It was kind of like it was like a personal, it built me personally so that I'm better prepared, and now I have another ticket of value. When I have my market share conversations, I can say, well, hey, don't take my word for it. You know, I love this. I wrote this down, fill in my training calendar. I'd love to just have, at least on a weekly rotation, the state of the industry playing on my calendar.
You've got all those arrows in your quiver now.
Yeah.
What a great perspective, Justin, because I haven't heard it put that way. And what a shame it would be if the opposite occurred, if a team leader was so focused on guests and attendees and stuff that they didn't take the time to let Mega Camp grow them personally. Right. I mean, we would love it all, but I love that perspective that was an experience for you. And then now you can pull out this piece and that piece, and let me send this to you and target it. Because honestly, I mean, let's say we had 10 R2s go to Mega Camp. How many of them are going to sit there by themselves at their home or home office for 2.5 days? Not all 10.
Right. No, absolutely. It's hard.
Right. And how powerful, that's the follow-up, right? That we were talking about with Jacob kind of in the beginning of the call is, here's 11 people that said they would go. They didn't join. That's fine. It's not over. It's just a process. Now we've got 11 people to follow up with. And the more you guys know about the sessions and can pull it out, you can target it and work your way up that pyramid. It's just an ongoing process.
Yeah. One thing I will say, like, I am very, like Sean, I'm very Zoom resistant. I do not prefer to be on Zoom. And at the same time, like what we did yesterday on the short sale class provided me a lot of follow-up opportunity today. So since it was on Zoom, number one, I had the presenter share his slide deck with me. And then number two, we recorded the Zoom call. And so then my follow-up after was, hey, I'll get the slide deck and recording to you as soon as possible. What was your one takeaway? And then today I'm sending them the email with the slides and the recording to say, hey, here's this information. By the way, as I build my training calendar, I create that based on consultations with agents. Could you set aside 30 minutes to hop on a quick Zoom call with me? And most, like, I would say 80% of them are like, yeah, sure, no problem. Thanks for putting these together.
That's awesome. I mean, being able to show up and talk to the agents in your community with some real value is so much more powerful than saying, hey, let's meet so I can triple your business. Right? I mean, there has never been a more important time for you to reach out to the agents in your community with purpose. And the idea of this comes from the infinite game, which is, what's the game you're playing? I just got off a call with KW about this, and they said, well, what's the game we're playing? Are we trying to be number one? Well, yeah, being number one is good, but that's not the game we're playing. The game we're playing with intention and purpose is to keep the agent at the center of the transaction for the benefit of the consumer. And we're the only ones playing that game. To arm the agent with everything they need to stay at the center of the transaction. So if these prospects and recruits are like, man, why are you having all these events and what's going on? Or if your existing agents are like, man, why is it so important I turn on smart plans, and why all this stuff? Because we have an actual purpose to keep you at the center of the transaction. And sometimes, well, all the times, Gary can see what's coming, and sometimes the rest of us can see what's coming better than the average person. And I'm telling you, you're going to need some help to stay at the center of the transaction. Zillow just turned into a brokerage, right? That's going to be another iteration of Redfin.
Yep.
And there's agents that are going to go work there, and they're going to work. What I say about Redfin is, that's fine. You're going to work 50 hours a week for $50,000. And if that's what you want, that's fine. You can probably do that same thing by managing a Home Depot or whatever other job opportunities are out there, but that's not why you got your real estate license. So the reason that I need you to listen to Gary's keynote, or the reason I'm reaching out, is I want to keep you at the center of the transaction forever. there's purpose there. What are you guys hearing in what I'm blabbing?
That resonates totally. To start with why, Simon Sinek, right? What's your why? And frankly, that's the biggest gift we can give somebody, is to really drill down on them to discover their why, or to self-discover their why.
Yeah. Jacob, what were you gonna say?
Well, I think, I've heard that message coming through before, and I think probably me as personally, I need to explore how to best communicate that message to our current agents and other agents. I think sometimes in the midst of, in my region, the cadence of set 3, set 3, set 3, set 3, set 3, 40 appointments, sometimes I lose that vision, that mission, if you will, and it's just do whatever it takes at basically all costs to get those 3 appointments set and hold those 40 and gross your 10.
And it works to a certain degree, and they join to a certain degree, and then our net ends up being what our net is, because they came in for whatever random reason. But if they come in understanding the purpose of our infinite game, I think the net might improve.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I definitely have some opportunity to communicate that mission more clearly.
Yeah.
I think it's the recruiter who masters creating opportunity to have this high level conversation about real estate business that's going to win the market share eventually.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's,
I don't know
that's what it's done for me is it's empowered my dialogue, because I'm having conversation about real estate at a higher level. It really kind of drew a line in the sand for me.
Exactly.
There are those on this side who are transactional in this business, and then there are those on this side who are intentional about this business. And interestingly enough, most of the people who populate this side are at my company. And we know that. My marketplace knows that. My marketplace knows that Keller Williams agents are in it for something bigger than real estate. We may not be the top producing agents. We may not sell 85 units in a year, any one agent. However, we are the ones making a difference in our community. We're the ones leading a campaign of change and intentionality, and that's what's making a difference. It's kind of cool.
Did you walk into that as team leader, or is that something that's developed because of something you've done?
No, that's developed. I mean, I certainly walked into the TL role with a spirit that had an appetite to learn this. I got to tell you though, Mega Camp opened me up to that. I mean, Mega Camp this last year, just a couple weeks ago, really lit that fire. And it's pretty cool, because now my phrase is, when I talk to my R2s, my market share appointments, I get very confident in when I make this statement. I say, listen, if all you can talk about is real estate at your brokerage, your real estate company's not big enough. And
wait, say that one more time.
If all you can talk about at your real estate brokerage is real estate, then your company's not big enough. And that's because and I'll ask them, I say, just be honest with me. What other things can you talk about with your broker? Oh, you don't even talk with your broker. I think you need something better.
Yeah.
And at that point, because we've been discussing changing our splits, we've been discussing our caps, and you know what's interesting? This 2-month journey of taking a look at financial metrics, I've concluded that caps are irrelevant. I'm recruiting people who are going to blow out the cap anyways. So I'm going to leave my
getting them in production is what matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when you get them thinking bigger, when you get them realizing that not only does the economic model of Keller Williams make sense, yet more importantly, the intentionality, oh gosh, I'm on board. So that Mega Camp has helped empower me have those conversations. That's what it did for me.
Dude, that is awesome. That is awesome. And hopefully when we do these replays and stuff, we can know that that's what we're trying to spread to our whole leadership team and our ALC, and that intentionality about it, because it really matters. We're the only one out there trying to keep the agent at the center of the transaction. We're the only one doing it, because there's other people out there growing, Zillow, Redfin, Compass, EXP, but there's nothing fundamental they're doing about keeping the agent at the center of the transaction. And so, you know, you said intentional. The way I've described it before is it's almost like evangelical. Like you have an obligation to make sure everyone understands. Because let's say you've got this big producer, and 3 years from now, if you're not on command, you're working for Zillow and Redfin. I'm just imagining.
Yeah.
And that big producer bumps into you at Starbucks and they're like, Justin, dude, my revenue just got cut in a third because now I'm working for Zillow. How come you didn't tell me back in 2020? How come I know you sat down with Susie and John and stuff. How come you didn't tell me? Right? It's almost like that's you got to be evangelical and get the word out. Now, it's on them how they respond. But I think you have a moral obligation to explain what is happening in the industry, because you understand it. KW team leaders understand it. And if you don't, you shouldn't be a KW team leader. Right. You have a moral obligation to spread the word.
Jim, I'd take it a step further, and I'd say, and I love it. I'd say we have an obligation to share that message now, so that we can't be blamed for not sharing it years from now.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
right. Exactly right. So
the game's changing.
And so the way they respond should not affect us. Oh, I would never come to Keller Williams. Stop calling me. Oh, you know, we have a purpose that's way greater than their inability to understand the industry, right? That should just bounce off. Some will, some won't. Some will when you explain it. You know, that's just your job to figure out what group they're in. So what a fun conversation.
No, this is a good conversation. And, you know, what I relate to, and I love it, Justin, what you share, because I've many times I've been doing this, I almost feel like a financial planner, you know, or a life coach at times, you know, and I approach it. I come from it, having come from commercial and come from a business background. To me, Keller Williams is the only outfit out there, and I mean, including C.B. Richard Ellis or Jones Lang LaSalle or the other, that is teaching individuals how to be business people, real estate business people, rather than real estate sales people. And then I just segue in up to what Justin's saying, because when we start talking about business, now we'll start talking about life and how, you know, and having a consistent and leveled up business and how we do that so that we can live lives worth living. I mean, it goes right into our whole shtick about a bigger life, and it can be done in this business if it's done with a model and a system and a tool, you know, to help keep the agent at the center of the transaction. So I mean, that's what's drawn me into Keller Williams over 2 years ago. You know, Gary Keller talking at a high level about business and life.
Love it. Love it.